Hi, I'm Sam here at Rick Jones Pianos with a Kawai model KG-2C that was built in Hamamatsu, Japan in 1979. This is the very common 5-foot 10-inch grand piano model in Kawai's line from 1970 until about 1995, when it was replaced by the RX2 and eventually the GX2. And I guess I'll point out that a new GX2 today has a list price of $49,295. This, in our inventory, is a piano that we have worked on thoroughly to make as close as we can to being like a new piano. The tuning pins were replaced in the past with a larger size, larger diameter, to ensure that they will grip the tuning pin block more securely and ensure tuning pin stability. That's the type of work we do on our pianos to ensure that they will last at least for the 10 years of our 10-year warranty on all parts and labor. And then also for many years, decades even beyond, so long as you take good care of the piano. And we understand the new Kawai warranty is, I think it's 10 years, but what you will never find with any new piano is a 100% lifetime trade-up guarantee, which we have on all of our pianos. We ask, of course, that you please make sure it's in tune twice a year and kept in a situation of moderate and stable humidity, as other manufacturers I'm sure would ask you too. If you do that, you can return to us at any point and trade this piano in precisely for the instrument sales price. And that applies to any other piano we sell too. That's what we mean by 100% lifetime trade-up guarantee. So for the price that we have this piano priced at, and for what the price of a new one is, I believe that's 4 times as much, you're welcome to go play a new Kawai GX2 and see how wonderful of a piano it is. I'm sure it's very good, and all of the late model Kawais that we've gotten in here have been quite exquisite when we get them in. Not too often, because people tend to hold on to their pianos longer than that. And you can play this piano and see for yourself whether the new one plays 4 times as good and sounds 4 times as good as this piano. You're welcome to make your own conclusion about that, but let it suffice to say, I think you'll be impressed with the way this piano turned out. The tone, I think, is very powerful. It has a very punchy, bright tone if you play loudly, but it also can quiet down really wonderfully if you play softly, especially with the left pedal, rather. It has a very wide dynamic range, which you might not expect from a piano under 6 feet long. Generally, the smaller the piano, the less likely it will, the less range it will have. It will be more limited. But in my opinion, Kawai knows how to make a smaller piano. At least they know how to get as much range musically as possible out of a smaller piano to make it feel like you're playing a larger piano. And this piano does feel like a larger piano, and it's just the boldness of its tone and the depth of the sound, especially in the bass. That's a really strong sounding bass. So I'll call the tone a 6 on a scale from 1 to 10, from mellow to bright. I think on average it tends more toward the bright side. So 5 in the middle is a neutral tone, 4 and below is mellow. This is on average more bright sounding, but rest assured it has a very wide range, and if you play very softly you can get a very delicate, subtle tone. The touch I thought was distinctly firm. I'll call it a 6 or a 7, and for those who have been instructed by their teacher specifically to look for a firm touch piano, I would highly encourage you to consider this piano. I know there are teachers who teach in schools that are they have all Steinway products. There are many schools around that they have that agreement with Steinway, and so they'll be supplied with Steinway pianos along with the Boston piano designed by Steinway and made incidentally by Kawai. Those 3 brands, Steinway, Boston, and Kawai, in my opinion, tend to have a firmer touch on average, especially in their later models. And if you're a student of a teacher who teaches at such a school, or just happens to have one of these pianos in their teaching studio, if it's a private studio, you will be well prepared for the more massive feel of those pianos at a piano lesson and a recital if your teacher has you do them, when you're practicing on the piano at home that has a distinctly firm touch like this. So again, firm touch on this piano, I will call it a 6. And if you've been told to find a firm touch piano as a piano to practice on at home, I strongly encourage you to consider this piano. This really, it will deliver. Let's see, what else can I say? It does have middle pedal sostenuto. I think every KG-2 I've ever seen has it, but in case you don't know how it works, it's like on the Steinway Grand. You can press down notes on the keyboard, and while still depressing them, you can use, well, I use my left foot to depress the middle pedal. It will only engage the dampers for the notes pre-selected. It's like having a third hand holding down notes on the keyboard for you as you play elsewhere on the keyboard with or without the right pedal. Rest assured, it's a full sostenuto. It works on all dampers. We've regulated it along with the rest of the action. And again, I know teachers of more advanced classical repertoire require that their students be able to practice on a piano that has a sostenuto, because it's that more advanced, more contemporary and modern classical music that uses that pedal. So please stop by, try this out for yourself. You can play it along with anything else in their inventory. But if you can't make it, you can always give us a phone call or send us an email if you have any questions. Thanks.